Let me say it again for the people in the back. Doge is not a new thing. It's not some revolutionary thing. They already had an Office of Budgetary Oversight, but Doge is doing it in a way that's never been done before.
What would you say you do here?
Well, look, I already told you. I deal with the goddamn customers so the engineers don't have to. I have people skills. I am good at dealing with people. Can't you understand that? What the hell is wrong with you people?
Elon Musk's request to have government employees tell him 5 things they did last week is hitting a nerve, while most people would love for the opportunity to brag to their boss about everything that they accomplished. Some people in government who are paid by you and work for you think that they're too good for that.
Imagine that you got this email tomorrow from your boss's 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 boss, who knows nothing about what you do. This would be like Tim Cook sending that email to every single Apple Store employee.
Musk says this is not that complicated. It's a pulse check saying, quote, the reason this matters is that a significant number of people who are supposed to be working for the government are doing so little work that they're not even checking their email at all. In some cases, we believe non-existent people or the identities of dead people are being used to collect paychecks. In other words, there is outright fraud. Republicans think this is a great idea.
The price tag that the taxpayers pay is right at $271 billion a year. Is it too much to ask for them to verify why they're making an average salary of $106,000 a year? I guess the arrogance of the workers who says that's a heavy lift is what's wrong with that's what the Americans are sick and tired of. It's not their money. We're the ones who are paying the bill.
We're so entitled in this country. We're so entitled as Americans. And again, anytime as human beings, anytime you're so used to a particular way of doing things for a long time, just the fact of having to justify your job is irritating to people. Even if there's some people who aren't doing much work, or there are people who are doing a lot of work. People who are doing a lot of work, they probably won't have a problem sending that email back saying what they're doing. But again, government work is not typically, the management isn't typically hawkish from what I understand. There's a lot of flexibility. Federal government can run on massive deficits. At the end of the day, the taxpayer money that comes in is not enough to cover the expenditures. That's called a deficit. So this deficit that we're in and the cost of the interest of the money we're borrowing, whether you want to blame Trump or blame Biden, it doesn't matter anymore. What people have to understand is that we needed somebody to come in and actually do this. Now, change is never comfortable.
Federal workers have had over a month to get back to work for the government in person. Elon Musk says starting this week, those who are failing to show up in person to work are going to be placed on leave. Brian?
Got to get those carpools going again, Hillary Vaughn.
Yeah.
Great stuff. Thank you. And Trump, well, he's all in, calling the cuts long overdue and telling Musk to get more aggressive. The administration has already slashed 2,000 USAID jobs, is cleaning house at the Pentagon and cutting millions in Biden-era green grants. But Kamala Harris, who knows a thing or two about wasting money, is sounding the alarm over the DOGE effort.
Some see the flames on our horizons, the rising waters in our cities, the shadows gathering over our democracy, and ask, what do we do now? But we know exactly what to do because we have done it before.
Come on, son.
Y'all almost voted her in to be president. Now, keep in mind, listen, I'm not going to be nice anymore about it because I didn't vote for Kamala. And I didn't vote for Kamala for a couple of reasons. She just did not have good policy, and she was not dealing with the things that we actually have to deal with. The actual government spending, immigration, all the directions of where the country was going. Now, of course, she's not going to talk about any of that stuff. She doesn't have to at this point. It's just more word salad. I don't want to go into Kamala. God bless her. I hope everything's good. But I am happy that she's not the president. Gross domestic product should be close to gross domestic income.
I want to highlight something that you said when you introed this entire segment, which is that Americans can't even tell what their government is doing for them. That's really what all of this is about, is that we've gotten so bloated and inefficient. You ask the regular person, you can't even figure out what's going on. This is being highlighted by a report that's actually coming out today from a great organization, you know it well, Open the Books. Mm-hmm. They audit routinely government spending and efficiency processes, and they're saying essentially this. They say there are 75 defunct or obsolete agencies, underscoring how outdated outdated, just record-keeping obscures accountability. Americans face significant challenges understanding just the composition and the cost of their own government. So that's what we're talking about, is the cost. They drill down even further, highlighting specific agencies. We've talked about USAID a lot. Headcount grew 218% since the year 2000, but Charles, spending soared 467,000. Health and Human Services, another example.
Now, mind you, I talked to a buddy of mine before, and he was arguing with me about how immigration doesn't cost the government money. She just said $20 billion.
The Office of Refugee Resettlement spent $22.6 billion on migrant aid since 2020, including on, get this, home loans, business grants, credit repair. I could go on and on, but it just shows you the disproportionate pace of spending and where we're spending those monies.
Something is always alluded to. We've done it before. What the hell did we do before? I don't understand. What do you mean? We're going down the wrong path. The nation has seen it. It's happened. And by the way, it's happening around the world, right? Where governments have gotten too large, too bureaucratic, and they've overshadowed the people that they're supposed to serve. This government has overshadowed the people it's supposed to serve. It comes first. Think about any debate over funding in government, and you bring up taxes. The conversation always feels like we go to work for government. Like, oh, well, if we get a break on our taxes, that hurts the government. Well, like we owe government instead of vice versa. When did this thing flip? And how do we get it back into some form of sanity?
All of the arguments going on are mindset, right? Everybody thinks that we work for the government. It's kind of the mindset people think. They don't realize the government works for us. The only way government functions is by collecting revenue, right? So they collect tax revenue. That's it. That's all it really comes down to. If you want to work for the federal government, there's nothing wrong with that. If you want to be a civil servant and work for the government, it's going to be different. I don't know how things will be in 4 years. I personally don't think the Democrats will win in 2028. I don't care about party, but I don't think the Democrats will win because for the first time in a long time, one thing politicians, and I said this during the election, voters are more tuned into information than they ever are. Whether they're watching the right information, having the right opinions, all of that is subject to argument, right? So we're all looking at different information. But regardless, everyday people are tuned into information. What Trump and Musk have done, they've opened up the conversation to government spending. This is something that everyday voters didn't really think about. They just, for a long time, we thought about who we liked. Oh, we really like Obama. We don't like Trump. We really like Clinton. We don't like Clinton. We like Biden. We don't like Biden. This is how most people were voting on identity politics based on who they like for a long time. This is actually changing. And this is why people are going apeshit right now, because people don't know. People know who they like, don't like, but this information that's coming out, it's hard to take a look at the information in relation to government and say, ultimately, as time goes on, what you see is going to happen, I think, is that the government will slim down, and then granted that the government still functions correctly, then we'll say, you know what? We were spending all this money getting rid of some departments, slimming down departments, but they also want to repurpose people. This happens in business all the time, right? So if you want to work for the government, now you do have to come to the office. If you want to work for the government, you do have to justify your job. People may be scrutinizing your work more to see if it's efficient and whether it's needed. That seems harsh, but that's normal in everyday life. Everybody who works outside of government faces the same scrutiny.
That these people somehow think that being required to respond to an email with what they're doing is somehow repulsive to them. How dare anyone ask what I have been doing? That doesn't work that way in the private sector. No. My husband jokes with me, he's like, what do you do every day? I'm like, it's pretty obvious to my bosses what I do. If I don't show up, they know it. Right? Like you show up, you tell them what you do, or you get fired and you go home. But there's no arrogance in the private sector, the way that the bloated public government has become this way, where somehow with, a lot of people who are against this were saying, well, all of this is illegal because a lot of these workers are in the union, or there's private data in the FBI that they can't share. We're not asking you to share secret information of who you came up with in the FBI or the NSA, right? We're asking you simply to, if you have shown up and what you've been doing.
Well, he said if Tim Cook did this for Apple, you'd say, well, he's past his prime. Well, he doesn't have to do it because he runs a competitive company that has other people trying to take his market share.
Again, this is an interesting time. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. Crucial Combo.